I am grounded. Davy says that I look taller, but I can't get my head around it. I keep feeling smaller and smaller. I need my girl.
Sometimes I can't sleep. I think that I've wasted most of my life. There's this unsettling about my life, like a scratch I can't itch. It is forever tormenting me. Nothing is ever good enough. Things in life feel as if they are just never quite right. I think this is what Buddhists believe is called dukkha, or suffering, constantly suffering. 96 hours straight, breaking to sleep for a few hours, working on taxes and the website. I didn't have the money to pay to get the taxes done. I couldn't pay TurboTax for the state taxes, so I did them by hand. The hamster, Furry, chewed through the printer cord, so I went to the library to print the taxes and I mailed them in. This is dukkha. I spent the rest of the 96 hours building a website that looks great on a desktop and tablet, but like shit on the phone. A website that I get. It is creative and fun, but I don't know if other people will understand. Sometimes I really don't think people understand me at all. This is dukkha. There are no real tools out there to help people grow their shows, or their podcast shows, that is, to share their story. This is what Age of Radio is for. Panoply, that's a company, a podcast company, has a great app, but you have to have 20,000 downloads a month for them to let you use their megaphone services and ad services that they provide. There's another company called Midroll. They're kind of a broker app between podcasts and advertisers. I emailed them back in October and I hadn't heard anything, so I emailed them again. This is dukkha. Then there are our first set of Age of Radio services that people are going to pay for. There's the Crystal package, the Tube package, Amplitude package, and Frequency package, which I'm not going to go into on this episode. But in my mind, I'm skeptical if people will buy these services, even though I think that they're amazing. This is dukkha. Finally, my days off were over. I had a short PTO, that stands for paid time off, so a short vacation. But I took them off to do the taxes and to get caught up on some personal items. And after the vacation, I went back to safety, a place where I can work my way up, at least to a mid-level manager. But I thought to myself, if you're going to suffer, no matter what, the suffering might as well be worth it in the end. You might as well do something that people remember. When I got home that Monday, I went running. I just needed to get away. I just needed to escape. I felt like everything was closing in on me. I just needed to breathe. You're listening to The Age of Jeremy. My name is Jeremy. This is an account of my life as best as I can tell it in the form of a podcast. This is Season 1, Episode 11, Just Breathe. This episode of Age of Jeremy is brought to you by the new Age of Radio Syndicate podcast, Learning to Curse.
Learning to Curse is a podcast that goes deep
and hard
on topics such as
ghosty ghosts,
ubernatural,
and the paranormals.
If you like jokes and skeptics,
talking seriously about weird
then Learning to Curse is the podcast for you.
Oh yeah, for you. And you over there.
And you. And your mom.
I'm not Chuck.
I'm not Adam.
Join us every Sunday
for Learning to Curse
with Adam and Chuck.
Responsiveness. What is it and why is it fucking up my life? Responsive website design is an approach to web design, which makes web pages render well on a variety of devices and windows or screen sizes. Essentially, it is a way for you to view and use a website no matter what device you are on, whether it's a tablet, a cell phone, or a desktop/laptop. The reason why this is important is, well, what do you surf the web on these days? Do you use a desktop/laptop or do you use your cell phone? Probably your cell phone. If your website is not set up to be used on a cell phone, then you, like me, have a lot of work to do. Now, the JV site is built with a platform called ClickFunnels. It is an okay platform. It is mainly used for online marketers and designed for one-page websites, traditionally called landing pages. It's a useful tool for JV impacts and has a great responsive aspect, mainly because it isn't really designed for depth, mainly just fluff, which is what online marketers essentially do. Age of Radio needs depth because once the website is up, ageofradio.org will become a hosting site and an education center and a content marketing platform and so forth and so forth. But if we are going to win this game, our listeners, creators, and brands need to do all of this from a cell phone or a tablet. Now, the dilemma is that the company that I use is called Elementor. It's a fantastic company. It allows you to make WordPress websites that have great depth without using HTML or CSS or JavaScript or PHP. Now, WordPress and Elementor are amazing, but with that depth comes more work. Now, Elementor creates the responsiveness, but with a shitload of flaws. Luckily, there is a cure. Well, that cure is really just more work. Essentially, you have to build 2 websites or even 3, one for each platform. So that means you have to build one website for a cell phone. That's the same as your website for your tablet. That's the same as your website for your desktop. So it's the same website, but it functions differently and looks differently so it can function on each of those devices. But the difficult part is that you have to create all of these websites on one page with Elementor. But I have to say, if you do it right, it looks pretty damn good. Now, there are a few lessons that I've learned that I want to go over with you that I think it will make it easier for you in the future if you decide to build a website. But first, let's take a quick break. Make sure you vote for the March Age of Radio Podcast Awards at the free Age of Radioheads Facebook group. Just search for the Age of Radioheads Facebook group. The March Age of Radio podcast nominees are Bizarre States, Learning to Curse, Welcome to the Night Vale, and Euphemet. First up in our clips is Bizarre States. Join Jessica Cobot and Andrew Bowser as they lift the veil and showcase the hauntings, urban myths, unsolved murders, and general oddities that everyone has experienced, but no one wants to talk about. Let's have a listen.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Hello, Bizarros! And welcome to a very special edition of Bizarre States, because I said so.
Yeah.
Actually, we've got a lot of stuff happening today, considering we didn't plan for any of it.
Yeah.
We have never had to have a big-ass nor'easter.
Yeah.
So, anyway, for those of you who don't know and don't want to be shamed by Bowser for not knowing, nor'easter refers to a big storm. So an old shipwreck was uncovered in Maine during one of these storms. Apparently, it's not a new thing. It happens every couple of years when the storm is strong enough to wash clear the previous erosion. It has been mapped and logged by the Maine Historical Preservation Commission as archaeological site ME497-004. It's a Revolutionary warship. And there you go.
And there you go.
And there you go.
I mean, even though it sounds like that happens more frequently than I would assume, that's still cool.
Oh, no, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those little things. Just like, there's a great place, and we've talked about it on the podcast before many years ago, but there's a great place out in Michigan that's a town completely covered by sand dunes, and it's, the sands always shift around, so sometimes you can see the top of the steeple from the church back in the day, and most of the time you can't, though. But I love that kind of stuff. NASA spots secret penguin colony from space because of poopy. So here's a little poo corner, very minor poo corner, a little nugget of poo corner, if you will.
It feels like, was it last week that we had the Sklar brothers on?
Yeah.
Or was that 2 weeks ago?
Last week.
Gosh, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, no, guys, we've been fucking fucked.
Yeah.
Here, working.
There's been enough
it's been a lot
between that Wednesday and this Wednesday to make me feel like it has been weeks.
This month, is gearing up to be insane.
I saw more people, just a real quick aside. I saw more people complain about an all poo episode than I expected from our audience, our people.
What, really?
Yeah,
I didn't see anybody.
Maybe I was just noticing the negativity. Aristotle's like, no way. I don't know. I saw a couple people that were like, all poo corner? No, thanks.
Okay.
You got to question whether or not you're a bizarro, if that's your attitude.
I mean, honestly, you
Not
do.
to put people on blast, but...
Put them on some butt blast.
They're on ass blasted like Tremors 3.
Hashtag ass blasted. If you're not a part of the Pooh Corner, I don't know if you can be a part of the Bizarro fan club. Ass blast. Anyway, to continue on talking about shit.
Yeah.
1.5 million large penguin super colony. This would probably be, who's that actor that can't say penguins?
What?
Yeah.
That's a thing?
Yeah,
Cumberbatch can't?
Benedict Cumberbatch can't pronounce penguins properly.
So that's the one thing he does wrong?
Yeah, he calls them penguins.
What?
I'm not joking. Penguins. He can't do it. There's a video out there where he struggles, and it is the best shit I've ever seen. Anyway, a 1.5 million wide penguin super colony has been hidden on, I love the name of this island, Danger Island in the Antarctic. It was finally discovered by scientists at NASA due to their poo
The Bizarre States is part of the Nerdist podcast network. You can find Bizarre States wherever you get your podcasts. Now back to the age of Jeremy. The first thing is you just need to breathe. I was looking up at my giant Post-it that's stuck on my wall, and it says that I wanted to release the website before Christmas. That obviously didn't happen, and it's obviously not going to happen because Christmas already passed. The average website takes about 6 months to create, and that's if you're working on it full time, which I'm not. So the first thing is just fucking breathe. Take a breather. It's not really that important. Life's too fucking short to be stressed over something, especially something that you want to be fucking perfect. So stress over the perfectness, not the releasing of it. But anyways, just breathe. The second thing is that you need to make sure that you plan. Now, strategy is one of my talent themes. What's a talent theme? Well, the good old people over at the Gallup Company decided there are 34 themes of strength. I recommend, if you have the opportunity, to take the Gallup Strength Finders test. It is a great way to find out where you should be spending your time in your career. It lets you know where you should be focusing, because you should be focusing on your strengths, not your weaknesses. If you manage people, you should have all of your people take the test, because then you'll be able to see where everybody's strengths are and you'll be able to assemble a team. That being said, these are my talent themes. Self-assurance, that just means I have faith in myself. Futuristic, that just means that I'm thinking into the future. Connectedness, which just means we're all part of something larger. Relator, which means I prefer to be around my close friends and utilizing them. And strategic, which means I prefer to find the best possible route and stick to that route. Now, my good friend John Vasquez is an activator, which is someone who learns something and then goes to work, even if there is no plan in place. So let's put it this way. John is action and I'm strategy, which makes us a fantastic team. But I wanted this to work so fast and so bad that I tried to make myself an activator, which I'm not. One of my biggest weaknesses and greatest strengths is that my time is more important than others. I don't like being held to other people's deadlines because most people are doing things too quickly without understanding what I call first principles. And secondly, they are making sole decisions when decisions are better made from a group, which is also known as democracy. Now, my lack of commitment to the strategy has led to not only a focus of vanity metrics like revenue growth, but also to making sloppy mistakes. So rather than be something that I'm not, an activator, I'm going to focus on making sure we have a plan to follow. It may take time, but I think it will be okay. JV Impacts is growing month over month in revenue, so now we can take the time to plan certain aspects of JV Impacts. And through this, I've learned that I need to slow down and plan more certain aspects of Age of Radio. But in regard to making a website or business, make sure you spend time to plan. It's like those wood people always say, or the woodworkers. You need to measure 98 times and cut once. The company Adobe has a brand new app that's out of beta called XD. And it's a user experience program that allows you to build out what you want your website to look like, which essentially is a map that allows you to follow to create what you want that website to look like. Now, I drew my homepage out on paper, but that's the extent that I did, or the extent that I went. That's not really good enough. You need to draw out every nook and cranny when you're planning. And when you do that with a website, it makes it much easier to look at your map and then create it as a website. The third thing that I learned is, which I kind of knew this already and I kind of do on a normal basis, but I kind of strayed away from this, but you always need to be educating yourself. I mean fucking educating yourself. You need to understand how things came to be. Take Elon Musk. He has a bachelor degree in physics. No small feat, but it's just an entry-level degree. Not like having a PhD in physics. Point being, a bachelor degree in physics won't make you a rocket scientist, let alone be the chief designer for rocket technology, which is what Elon Musk does every week at SpaceX. You need to slow down and take your time. I needed to slow down and take my time. It took me about a month to learn enough HTML to change code when I needed it. I can do similar kind of things with CSS. It has let me create a decent starting place for the Age of Radio website. However, it has in no way prepared me for my next step. The next step is to make the world's best podcasting hosting site. I'm pretty sure I don't have the skills for that. So what do I need to do? Educate myself. Really educate myself. This is all about lifelong learning, but the learning you experience needs to push you. It's usually practice that causes this push to take place. Take an instrument or learning a language. It's that practice that is slightly above your ability. That's where learning happens. That's how you need to educate yourself. Right after this break, I will go over the last two things that I've learned working on this website. Once again, make sure you vote for the March Age of Radio Podcast Awards at the free Age of Radio Heads Facebook group. Just search for the Age of Radio Heads Facebook group. The March Age of Radio Podcast nominees again are Bizarre States, Learning to Curse, Welcome to the Night Vale, and Euphemet. Welcome to the Night Vale is a twice-monthly podcast in the style of community updates for the small desert town of Night Vale, featuring local weather, news, announcements from the sheriff's secret police, mysterious lights in the sky, dark hooded figures with unknowable powers, and cultural events. Let's listen to a clip.
Blinking red light in the night sky. The future is changing, but it's hard to tell. Welcome to Night Vale. Listeners, thank you for your calls and emails. We're getting word that the sandstorm has already begun to hit. Larry Leroy, out on the edge of town, called moments ago to say that the sand was thick and really flying fast, but that when it touched his skin, he could hardly feel it. He could hardly feel a thing, that the past was a fiction, and that consequences were a choice. He saw colors and shapes instead of familiar things like stoves and ponies. He shouted a bright confirmation of life up toward the sand-covered sun before gasping and screaming, "No, not you, not you!" and then hanging up the phone. Well, thank you, Larry, for that informative report. We'll certainly keep that in mind.
Welcome to Night Vale is part of the Night Vale Podcast Network. You can get their podcasts on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get back to the show. The fourth thing I learned about building this website is take your time to understand project management and agile development. I'm not going to go deep into these topics, but essentially both of these processes or concepts are designed to keep you on pace and work out all the kinks of your project. If I knew more about project management and agile development, I should have been able to keep to my December timeline or been able to build out a realistic timeline. The fifth thing I learned was to make better sacrifices. I'm not talking about the sacrifice of working on the business rather than watching television or going out with friends. I mean the opportunity cost of doing one thing over the other. Let's face it, people have limited time, and every task or job you take on is less time you can do a different task or job. My problem, and I urge you not to make it your problem, is take on too much. I take on way too much, and then I have to pull back. Be realistic about the projects you're taking on. You will be able to do more if you do one thing and then move on to the next, than trying to do them simultaneously. Now, I have a two-step process that I created. It's really two questions. The first question is, will the project make the world a better place? If it does, move on to the second question. Will I regret not doing this project when I'm on my yacht waiting to die? If I can answer yes to both of these, then I'll go ahead and take on the project. The sad thing is I can think of two things that are on my list for March that don't fit into this criteria. So why did I take these projects on? I shouldn't have. I know all of these things don't exactly relate to building a website, but over the last 6 months of making the website, this is what I've learned. It has really helped with introspection. Always be improving. Always be improving. Next time on Age of Jeremy, we are going to be discussing the first set of products I'm going to try to sell. If you're listening to this in the morning, have a good afternoon. If you're listening to this in the afternoon, have a good evening. And if you're listening to this in the evening, have a good night.
Everything is quiet since you're not around. I live in the numbness now in the background. I do the things we did before.
Age of Jeremy is brought to you by Age of Radio. If you can't get enough Age of Radio, check out our Apple Podcast provider page or head on over to ageofradio.org. Again, that's ageofradio.org. Age of Jeremy was recorded in my home studio, Furry's room. Yes, she's a hamster and she is a bitch for chewing through my printer cord. Age of Jeremy is recorded, mixed, and mastered using Steinberg's Cubase. We use Wave plugins and Blue microphones. The opening song was I Need My Girl by The National off their Grammy-nominated album Trouble Will Find Me. Our closing song is The Background from Third Eye Blind off their 1997 self-titled debut album. Check you later.
Because I carry